Hello, everyone. Welcome to OpenLine on Wednesday night. I'm Ben Hall. We're talking about something on a lot of people's minds, and that is this measles outbreak. Of course, it started in California. It has been moving across the country, and we want to answer your questions about that. What's really going on here? What's the threat? What's some of the history with this? And, of course, talk about vaccines and that kind of thing. Happy to have with us the director of the Metro Public Health Department, Dr. Bill Paul. Thank you for being with us.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
We can talk about other things as well if you want to call in questions about the health department, but I really want to focus on measles right now. That's what's on a lot of people's minds. Let's first put up this map, which kind of indicates, all right, 92 cases there in California, and then you see the other states where this has spread. How serious is this? You look at that, how serious is this?
This is worrisome. We've got over 100 cases of measles connected to this outbreak, and more cases coming up pretty much every day. Measles is probably the most contagious virus that we've got. I'm always here telling people to wash their hands and all that sort of thing. Measles you get from breathing the air. And if somebody has measles and they're in a room and they leave, that air can be contagious for a couple of hours. And if you got 10 people exposed to a person with measles that are not vaccinated, 9 of them are going to get sick. So this is a very contagious virus, and to see it spreading this wide is something that really concerns us.
And that is something I also wanted to discuss, just how contagious it is, because I've seen that reported, and it's almost hard to believe because we are so used to wash your hands or that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. You're saying somebody could have this, and they could leave the room, and then 2 hours later somebody comes back in and they could get it.
That's right. That's right. So, and this is why it is concerning, because one infectious person could expose so many others. There are stories of people. Obviously, you get sick. Sometimes you get sick with the measles before you get a rash. I mean, everybody knows that measles causes a rash, but it starts kind of like a cold with a fever and runny nose and a cough and pink eyes. So you might go to the doctor, and then there's a lot of other people who could be in that waiting room or in that doctor's office after you, and some of them could be vulnerable people. So you do see spread in medical settings sometimes of measles virus.
Do you expect it will come here? I mean, we're seeing it in other states. We're seeing it around us. It's moved from California. Do you expect to see it in Tennessee and even in Nashville?
I know there were a few cases of measles in Tennessee last year, and so it would not surprise me. Now, what makes me feel good is that the people of Tennessee vaccinate their children. There's not a really strong thread of people that are against vaccination in Tennessee. If you look at the 2-year-olds that we measure the immunization status of 2-year-olds here in Davidson County, 95% of them have had their measles shot. That's good. 5% of them haven't. That's not so good. But if 95% of us are altogether are immune, then we protect the infants, and we protect the more vulnerable, and that's something we call herd immunity. The virus can't really spread very well. So all it would take, I don't feel comfortable and confident about that measles couldn't come here. All it would take is, a couple of families, a social circle that really doesn't believe in immunization. They don't go to school, so there's not that sort of compulsion to get the vaccination. There are homeschooled children at times, and they might have not always, but there might occasionally be pockets of people who are under-immunized. And if somebody travels overseas, comes back, you can actually have a measles outbreak in a place like Nashville, where most people are really immunized.
So, all right, I want to talk a little later about vaccinations and the importance, and certainly that's where the big focus is on kids. But what about older people? How susceptible are people that maybe they got vaccinated a long time ago? Does this vaccine, does it wear off? or is there an age group at which people were not vaccinated? What about older people in this?
That's an interesting thing, and I've just been learning a little bit about that. The vaccination for measles started basically in 1963, and that people who were born after 1957 were immunized. I mean, before that, pretty much everybody got the measles. So by the time you were age 6, you were presumed to have the measles, have had the measles, and if you had the measles, then you're immune for the rest of your life. So people are starting to see a few adults become ill in this outbreak, and so I saw some discussion about maybe there were people around that time who avoided natural measles when it was really common, but also avoided the vaccination.
Who didn't get vaccinated.
And so those would be people, I don't know, above the age of 57 or so, and those people, if they're concerned, there's no harm in getting a vaccine, and there's no harm in going to your doctor and finding out if you're immune to measles, if you're just not sure if you got the vaccine.
Let's take a few calls. We'll continue this discussion. We already have a few people on the line. Let's go to Lauren or Laura. Hello, Laura. What's on your mind?
Oh, well, okay. I had the measles when I was little, and the red measles and the German measles. And then I've had, when I was a senior in high school, they made me take the shot because they couldn't determine whether or not I had had a good enough case. So then when I went to nursing school, they did the rubella titer, and I didn't have an immunity to it. So I have had, since then, 4 injections, and I can't keep an immunity. If they come to Tennessee, am I going to possibly get the measles?
This sounds like a very unique set of circumstances, because the vast majority of people who get the shot are going to have that immunity. And what you're talking about is a blood test after you've got the shot that proves that you've got immunity. And I guess the important point here is that no vaccine's going to protect 100% of people. So, you know, the vaccine is 95% effective, and you may just be the person that didn't get the take. And so you're a person who's relying on the rest of us to be immune so that we don't have transmission, we don't have spread of measles in our community. The particulars of why you didn't come up with a positive blood test after getting all those shots, I don't have any expertise. You'd have to talk to your doctor about that. But we do know that these vaccines really do work, but there is a small percent of people that they don't work for, and that's why we push for everybody to get vaccinated.
And this indicates that you can determine whether or not you have been vaccinated, whether or not you're susceptible to this. There's an easy test for that, is that right?
Yes, there is a blood test.
And is that something, so parents are going to know if their kids are vaccinated, and parents should get their kids vaccinated, no doubt about it.
Yes.
But if there are people watching who wonder, this 1963, that's when this first came out, am I vaccinated? If they're wondering, there is a way to find out. They just need a blood test.
Yes, there is. And sometimes you might go to your doctor and they'll say, well, I can just give you another shot, or I can do a blood test. And it might actually be the path of least resistance. The easiest thing to do is just go ahead and give another shot.
Right. That makes sense.
Because the vast majority of us don't need that proof that we've been immunized or that we have positive.
All right, we have to take a break. If you're on the line, hold on. Philip, Elizabeth, Laura, if you want to ask another question, hold on. We will take a break. We will take more phone calls. There's the number, 737+, 737-7587. Take a break. We'll be back right after this.